What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bird Flock podcast. It's just Shayne and I today. It's been a week or so since the two boys hopped on an episode together, so we're fired up to do that. Your Montreal Alouettes play a very rare Sunday night game against the Calgary Stampeders at home at Percival Molson. Shayne and I will be in attendance, but Sunday night game, just weird.
Throws me off, man. Like I don't know. Like I feel like Sunday games are like afternoon games. Like why is it at 7 p.m.?
I know. Like throw it at 1 o'clock. I'm fired up.
Yeah.
Right. A little fucking hot dog for lunch at Percival Molson, but 7 p.m. is just weird.
Yeah.
Super weird. But the Alouettes are coming off another bye week, our second bye week in the first 6 weeks of the season or 7 weeks of the season.
Yep.
So the boys are rested up following a week 5 or 6 loss to the Toronto Argonauts, where in all honesty,
absolute great game.
Unreal game. We had obviously a tough stretch of the schedule there where we played BC, Winnipeg, and Toronto. We said if we can win 2 of the 3, we'd be happy. We won none of the 3. But we didn't look bad in any game, I don't think. I think the BC game is the only game where you could say, holy shit, they looked bad. Like they did not look good. They were never in this game. So many mistakes, so many errors. And then the Winnipeg game, I'll just chalk it up to the weather. Obviously, a lot of mistakes were made again, but those mostly weather related, and they kept it tight the whole game. And then 2 weeks ago against Toronto, like we said, what an unreal game. Back and forth
burner
the entire time. The Alouettes showed that they can 100% hang and potentially beat who I think now is the undisputed best team in the CFL, in the Toronto Argonauts. But yeah, let's go back to that game. Any thoughts that or things that really stand out from that guy? I know it was a while ago, but
I don't even want to talk about the game right now. I want to talk about the crowd. I think that was the most electric an Als game has been in years.
Yeah.
That place was rocking. They had the flashlights out on the phones, like late in the
fire
quarter. It was amazing, man. Like the way that this team is kind of turned around and us being fearful that we're not even gonna have a team, like they're gonna get shipped out of Montreal, and like to see the crowd rally behind these boys like that in a big game. I think it was a Friday night. I think it was a Friday night.
Yep.
Vibes were electric, man. Even though they lost that game, like you said, just to be in a game against the best team in the CFL, like that, lose by a touchdown late in the game, I think it gave the fans a lot of hope. Even though they have a losing record right now,
which is crazy to me.
Yeah, but like we said, I mean, I think the 3 teams that we kind of knew going into the season, were going to be tough games. Were tough games for the boys.
Yeah.
But talking to you before the game, and talking to my dad before the game, I even said it. I was like, there's something about Montreal Toronto that it's always a good game. It doesn't matter if one of them's in first and one of them's in last, or they're both fighting for a playoff spot or what it is. These 2 guys have been rivals for so long that it's just always something comes up that the game's electric and it's a close game. One thing I want to talk about is, like, I know last time we were on here, I was screaming to run the ball, but I do not understand. You are down by 7 with like a minute left on your own 10-yard line, and the first play of the drive you call is a dive to William Stanback.
A dive. Like,
what are you doing, buddy?
I know.
And I know, just like in hearing a lot about around the stadium, a lot of fans are already questioning what's happening with Jason Maas and what his play calling is. I think we need to give him a little bit more time. It's only been 5 games into this contract and what's going on. But to me, that call was just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. Like we got texts in the first half though to the Bird Flock account, and shout out to you guys who reached out. They said, "Oh shit, Jason Maas listens to the Bird Flock podcast because he's running the damn ball," and they did it effectively in the first half. But yeah, to come out and do that with, like you said, a minute left, I think that was after the missed field goal. I think too.
Yeah,
they ran it crazy, insane. But I am not one of the ones who are calling for Jason Maas's head right now. I
Absolutely
think
not.
You look at what he's done with Cody, and that's not to take anything away from Cody, but Cody has been unbelievable this year. Like, has surpassed my expectations by a lot, if I'm being completely honest. And just what he's done with the offense in general. Obviously, yeah, there's going to be, complaints, right? There's going to be some, if we ran the ball 20 times, a game for the first 4 weeks, they probably would have been saying, why aren't we throwing the ball more? So it's just a matter of finding that balance, right? It's a very new team, no matter who the coach is, right? The unfamiliar receivers.
It's also a new team for him. He doesn't know, it's one thing to say, like, big names in the CFL, but he still doesn't know how to use these big names in the CFL. He doesn't know how to use stand back yet, which I get. People are going to be like, oh, just run the ball. Obviously, it's stand back.
Yeah.
But there's ways to zone blocking and non-zone blocking that are going to get stand back in the best position to break off 30-yard runs, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
He is in 5 games with William Stanback. He doesn't know how to use Stanback and the O-line properly yet.
Yeah. And I think it also shows he doesn't know how to use Walter Fletcher, right? To the point where he's been in the lineup once, right? When we know firsthand how much of a game breaker he can be. And not for nothing, I know there's only 9 teams in the CFL. And it's normally like, in the NHL, you say, okay, the West is really different than the East. In basketball, the West is different than the East. You can say the same thing in the CFL too, right? This is Jason Moss's first time coming over to the East and coaching an Eastern Conference team against primarily Eastern Conference opponents. Not to say it's entirely different, but it's definitely something to kind of factor into how he's calling games and things like that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing that we didn't mention, and it seems like forever ago, but Tyler Snead scored 3 touchdowns.
Oh my God.
Against the Toronto Argonauts. If you haven't seen, last week we dropped an interview with Tyler Snead. First of all, what an awesome dude. What a great guy. Just loves football, loves playing football, loves being in Montreal, loves the opportunity he's been given. And obviously he's pretty fucking good at it too. Excuse my language, but he's pretty damn good at football too. Obviously the first 2 touchdowns were, maybe not designed to go to him, right? That first touchdown was end of the half. I think it was Q and Tyler Snead in the back of the end zone. Cody threw it up. Snead came down with it somehow. I think he's like 5'7", came down with it.
I think that was like the funniest text I've gotten all season is my dad texting me. There's like 7 guys in the area. He's like, how the hell is the shortest guy on the field, right? The one out jumping everyone for the ball? Like, I think that just shows like, how much he wanted it and the opportunity he's given. He's not going to sit there and take it for granted. He's going to go and fight for that role. And man, 3 touchdowns in your first or second game is absolutely electric.
Yeah. And that second touchdown, by the way, again, not to take anything away from Snead, but that was one of the best plays I've seen from an Als quarterback in a long time. Cody got out of that sack, which was a sure thing sack, rolled out left, found Snead wide open. And then the third play, or the third touchdown, was just one that fucking I love.
I think the third touchdown shows how great of an offensive mind Jason Moss is.
100%. No one in the stadium, everyone in the stadium thought, okay, they're going to sneak it, get the first down, keep the drive going. No one in the stadium could have guessed that.
And to have a 5'7" little skinny receiver playing tight end on that play,
yeah,
like I don't think many coaches are thinking about that. No. Have him sneak out into the flats and just, dude. Even when he booted Cody, I thought Cody was just booting.
Yeah,
I didn't even see Snead.
Yeah, Snead was backside wide open because he booted Cody left, right, and Snead leaked out. What one of my favorite play calls I've ever seen from like an Als game. That was great. Came at a perfect time too. You always see these special teams plays or whatever, these fakes pulled off at a perfect time. I think that was pulled off at the perfect time.
And then had the absolute stadium rocking for the rest of the game.
Oh yeah.
Even down 7 with the ball with 1 minute left, it was still rocking. Like they were behind the boys on that drive, man.
100%. And then that led into a bye week, which leads into this week against the Calgary Stampeders. Which, by the way, the Calgary Stampeders acquired Jagarrett David. Just got ruled that trade is now not happening because Jagarrett didn't pass his physical. So the 6th round pick goes back to Calgary. Jagarrett goes back to Hamilton. I don't know if he's going to play. I didn't know he was like.
I mean, I know he was a healthy scratch. I think it was the last game. I think there's a lot of going on. He didn't report to training camp. There's a lot going on with that whole situation, man. I don't know what's happening with him. But listen, you get him. It's a free shot to the Grey Cup.
That's it, 100%. It's guaranteed. I think it's been 4 or 5 in a row he's been to. It's a guarantee. I think Montreal should take a shot on him. Just fucking dash him away on the roster somewhere. and it's your ticket. But in a lot of CFL power rankings, first of all, I think the CFL, considering the Als are 2 and 3, have given the Als a lot of respect. They're still keeping them around that 4, 5, 6 range, anywhere in between there, and then 7, 8, 9 are pretty clear cut at this point, especially with Trevor Harris going down probably for the season, and Hamilton and Edmonton just being Pee-wee football teams. But keeping them in that 4, 5, 6 range, with Ottawa, who Dustin Crum came out of nowhere and is suddenly
this guy's a baller, man.
He's suddenly Jesus. And with Calgary. And I've watched, I think, every Calgary game this year. And, you and I text back and forth about it. I don't think I've been impressed with them once in any outing. I think they've coasted by. I think they've, like the Als, to be fair, they've beaten bad teams. But I think the Als have looked way better in their losses than Calgary has, and better in their wins.
I think if you look at it right now, off the top of my head, I think Montreal is that fourth team. I think they're a clear-cut fourth team, and I think it's going to be proven this week playing against Calgary.
Yeah.
I think Jake Meyer's stats look terrific. His passing yards and everything looks great, but I think if you actually watch the games, man, he's not. He looks like he's panicking all the time.
Yeah.
His receivers are making a lot of big plays for him. And then when you go to the Alouettes, it looks like, everything on that offense is kind of rolling smoothly in the pass game, aside from the O-line. But Cody and his receivers seem to be on the same page at almost every play, and Cody just looks, like we said before, fantastic. I don't think you could have sat here 5 games into the year and asked for more from your first year quarterback in Montreal.
Definitely.
So I think Montreal is that 4th team. The thing with Dustin Crum, bro, is that I think we see this every year in the CFL, where a quarterback bursts onto the scenes because he has no tape on him, and then 4, 5, 6 weeks into him being the starter,
it falls apart.
No pun intended, but it just crumbles.
True. It's true. Like you saw, the Als have had it a few times. The Als had it with Antonio Pipkin. The Als had it with what's his name? Oh my God,
Tanner Marsh. Go down the list, man.
The guy from Marshall.
Yeah, Rakeem Cato.
Yeah.
It goes down the list, and once the tape comes on them,
coaches.
The guy started as the 3rd string quarterback for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Not saying that he can't ever be a starting quarterback in the CFL, because I'm sitting here right now saying Davis Alexander is our 3rd string quarterback, and I think he's going to be an amazing quarterback.
Yeah,
it's just he's young in the CFL, Dustin Crum.
Yeah,
and once teams get more tape on him, it's going to be easier to figure him out.
100%. And I think, honestly, we're kind of seeing that with Jake Mayer now, right? He had some success last year with Bo out, and we're seeing it kind of pay off this year, but it's not really like he looks good. He looks okay. But he's not the star that everyone made him out to be, and led Calgary to ship Bo off to Hamilton. I think that relationship might have been
Speaking
done.
Of Bo, Bo's back.
Yeah, week 8, he's back. He is back. But for the Als matchup against Calgary, what's something that really jumps off the plate to you as I guess a key factor? And if we want to do one offense, one defense, or just in general, just your thoughts about the game, and then obviously we'll get into some predictions too.
I think off the bat, I think it's just the same thing. I think we kind of say all like every week. I think the O-line is just gotta come in and they gotta stabilize. Calgary has 2 guys inside the top 10 and inside the top 3 in sacks. Both of them have 5 in Rose and Vaughters. 2 guys that are going to tee off against the O-line the way I think they're playing right now. I think that has to be fixed up. They've had 2 buys now. This is their 2nd buy. I think it's something that had to be figured out. The edges have to be figured out. And defensively, I think it's pressure on Mayer. I don't know how much newly signed.
There it is. I was trying to find a way to loop it in. I want to talk about this.
Sean Lemon, baby. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get. Obviously a pure pass rusher. If they let him sit there and pin his ears back and let him go, and I don't think he needs to know too much of the defense to be able to do that. So I'm interested to see how much playing time he's going to get. But even opening up for JD, if he does get a couple plays in, letting that D-line get in there and finally, 7 sacks in the 5 games is not not good enough, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's why the move was made. So I'm looking here, maybe a 3-4 sacks on Jake Meyer would be beneficial to the defense and really help out the offense, because obviously the more time that Cody has the ball in his hands, I'm taking that against probably the way he's playing this year, probably every quarterback in the CFL.
Yeah. And I would think if this was just a typical, the Als signed Sean Lemon, he'd slot in whatever. I don't think he'd get much playing time, but the Als had to cut Nick Usher, which breaks my heart. He was one of my favorite Alouettes players for the last little while. Obviously, great guy too. I'm sure he'll get picked up in no time. But having to cut him, the Owls at the end aren't necessarily super deep. Obviously, you have Lualu.
That's not a backup third string guy they cut. They cut the guy that's starting every game.
That's it. That they cut the guy who's playing 85% of the snaps at the end.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, you have JD who's going to slot in there, play 80% of the snaps. You have Lualu who started getting into the rotation, and I thought at first, okay, they cut Usher. First of all, he was an expensive contract. And as much as I love him, he wasn't producing up to his contract over the last year and into this year. In terms of sacks and QB pressures and whatnot, he could affect the game in different ways, just like JD can. But I thought initially, okay, Uguak's going to come in and he's going to be that second guy. They must love what they see from him. Obviously, he's been playing well, had a block punt, had a few TFLs. So I thought, okay. And then what was it? 2-3 hours later, we get the news that Sean Lemon signed. I could see it being kind of like how they do it on the D tackle side. Like you have Mondo, you have Mustafa Johnson, and you have Israel Antwine, who just are basically a 3-man rotation. I can kind of see them doing the same thing at end this week, especially already. Because if you look at, I'm trying to look at the roster. There's Sean Lemon, who's right now, it says he's on the practice squad. But other than that, there's no DNs on the roster, really. On the 6-game injured list, there's Brock Goenlock, who is back to practicing this year. He might sneak in and actually play in this game. But other than that, like, if I look, there's Jamal Davis, Lualu Guac. That's it. That's it. So, like, I don't see how he doesn't play a lot this week. I don't even know if he plays, but
yeah. I mean, how long has it been now? A couple days. Listen,
he signed Sunday.
Yeah, coming off a bye week, I think a week to prepare. A lot of players prepare on less time than that. So
and playing at D end, like, it's not like you have an overly crazy amount of stuff to.
Especially a guy that's been in the West for the majority of his career, he knows what Calgary's doing. He played in Calgary for a long time. So he knows that offense.
Yeah,
it's a system. It's a offense. I think he's comfortable playing against.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to get plenty of playing. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to start. I don't think he's going to start. I think Uguak's probably going to get the start.
There's also Avery Ellis too, who I forgot. Yeah, who's rocking the beautiful number 23 as a D end.
Wild.
Crazy.
I think Sean Lemon rocking that newly sealed number 0 is going to get plenty of playing time.
I don't
my number 1 free agent in this offseason.
So let's go back to that. You had Ciante, you had Justin Lawrence, you had
Jamal Roll, obviously
Jamal Roll. We're counting it. Who was the fifth?
I had hold on, I just had it pulled up because I wanted to see where I had him on the list. I guess it's Sean Lemon now.
Yeah.
Ciante, Jamal Roll. I had Greg Ellingson.
Yeah.
I had Justin Lawrence.
That's nuts. Wasn't this the top 5?
I had Cody Fajardo. I had 6 of 10 guys.
That's crazy. Who are the other 4?
I had Kamar Jordan, who I don't even think is signed right now. No. I had Kenny Lawler.
That's not going to happen.
Darnell Sankey, who's obviously not happening.
Nope.
And Jagari Davis.
Could happen.
Yeah, it's available.
Could happen. But so we're now like 1/3 of the way through the CFL season, we'll call it. And we'll do this again when we reach like the halfway point, and then obviously at the end of the year. But I just want to put out a quick little feeler here of your offensive player of the year so far, if the season ended today, for the Alouettes. Your defensive player of the year so far for the Alouettes, your most improved, we'll call it, and then your biggest surprise. So let's start offensive player of the year.
Yeah, we'll do one here. I think this might be a surprise a little bit. I literally just changed it as you were talking, to be honest.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna say Cody Fajardo is my offensive player of the year. I think it was close. Obviously, like I said, I just changed it.
Yeah.
I don't think this offense is doing what it's doing without him.
Yeah.
I don't. So I'm gonna go with him. Just the plays he's making, he's under pressure a lot. We've talked about it. Just the plays he's making to get out of the pocket and scramble, and whether it's even just to get rid of the ball or it's to tuck the ball for a 1-2 yard gain, it's pretty impressive to watch. And like we said, that second touchdown to Snead was one of the best plays I've seen from a Montreal Alouettes quarterback.
Yeah.
Since maybe Prime VA,
yeah.
which was what, 2019?
Even before that, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go right off the board. You can make the argument he's the best receiver in the CFL right now. Austin Mack. I would love, Cody is definitely right up there with him as someone I'm thrilled with, but we saw it week 1, we're like, oh, okay, cool. He can play in the CFL. He'll be a great third or fourth option when Tyson and Greg come back. And then week 2, it's like, oh shit, he did it again. And then now we're here and it's like, oh, he is our number 1 option for the rest of the year, and hopefully next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. He's the guy. He is the guy.
I'm excited to watch him with Philpott, man. I think that two-headed monster is going to be lethal in the CFL, man.
Which, by the way, Greg Ellingson, Tyson Philpott, and Brock Goenlock all return to practice this week.
About to be scary hours. I think if they have Philpott and Ellingson, they win that game against Toronto, man. I'm going to say it.
Have to.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it.
And imagine they had Ciante.
I'm going to say it, man.
Imagine they had Ciante.
That was wild. That was so weird. We're sitting there watching pregame warmups.
Yeah.
We're like, where's Ciante? For 10 minutes, we were trying to figure out where Ciante was.
And then we see Cordell Rogers come out when everyone else is in the locker room warming up, and we're like, oh, Ciante's not playing. Cordell Rogers is playing.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to the defensive side of the ball now. Your defensive player of the year for the Montreal Alouettes.
My boy, my dog, the man himself, new position, and he's leading the team in tackles, and he's all over the field. He's covering running backs. He's covering receivers. Najee Murray.
Love it. I'm going similar theming all over the field, making plays. I'm going with the hometown kid, Marc-Antoine Dequoy.
Oh, baby.
Love it. I don't know what it is about him, bro. He's just he's everywhere. He's always in the play. Always. Obviously. And
there's nothing that fires up the Montreal crowd more than when that guy makes a play.
A Dequoy pick. Yeah. First of all, should have a pick 6 on the year. We're not going to talk about that again. I had a pick against Toronto, and that's what I love about Dequoy. Whenever there's a ball tipped up in the air or something like that,
got it.
Dequoy is there somehow. He teleports. I don't know what it is. He's just there. He's there. But he's obviously one of the leaders of the defense without a doubt. He's my defensive player of the year so far. So let's jump over now. Let's go most improved.
I think there's one answer to this.
There is one answer, and we're going to say it on 3, okay?
Well, if we don't have the same answer, this is about to be really awkward.
It's going to be really weird, but okay. 1, 2, 3. Keon Julian.
Yeah, okay.
Has to be.
Absolutely. For him to sit there and be 4th in the league in receiving yards right now with 415 going.
And being on 2 buys.
Yeah. 415, playing 5 games. Everyone in front of him. Dalton Shayne, 7 games. Nick Dembski, 6 games. Austin Mack, number 2, has also played 5 games. So 2 guys in the Montreal Alouettes that have played 5 games are sitting there with guys that have played 2 and 1 more game than them. And they are within 20 yards of both of them.
Yeah.
So to me, that's insane. Keon Julian Grant, I don't think we expected this from him at all. Obviously, the depth at receiver injury has obviously opened up a lot for him. But man, he's never had a 1,000-yard season in the CFL. But
I knew it was possible from Keon. I just didn't think it would happen this year.
I wasn't expecting it this year with the Greg Ellingson signing. I could see it in the future. I know Greg Ellingson obviously hasn't played, but I think there's a lot of people in the building right now that might be sitting there saying, we don't even need Greg Ellingson.
Not that I won't take him. But
No, I'm absolutely gonna take him. But like we talked about a couple weeks ago, there's a lot of depth that receiver position that someone's gonna have to go.
yep. I
And
will
like
make
I think Kaon is the guy that a lot of teams are gonna be calling on.
And if I'm Danny Machocha, I say, thanks for calling. Have a great day. Dunk. You don't give up Canadian talent. You don't give up Canadian talent in the CFL.
He looks amazing out there. He's unstoppable. If you want to call him a number 2 receiver, you can call him that. I think it's a 1A, 1B right now with him and Austin Mack. They're just so explosive with the ball in their hands, both of them.
Kaon's just more than Austin Mack, to be honest.
And just like I was vouching for a jump ball receiver, but there's some throws that Kaon has just jumped out of the gym to go get, and we do not need a jump ball receiver anymore, man.
No, literally not. I'm glad we have the unanimous decision on that one. And then let's go over to the biggest surprise. No, most improved. Yeah. No, biggest surprise.
No, biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise.
Oh, you get it together, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm falling apart. I'll let you
listen. I think this one name and one name only again, and it's your offensive player of the year. It's Austin Mack.
Yeah.
Coming into here, I think in the training camp episode, I said, "Hey, listen, this is a guy that I want to see. I can't wait to watch play." Did I ever think that he would be sitting here as the number 2 receiver, playing 2 games less than the leading receiver 5 games into the season? Absolutely not. I never could have predicted that. Listen, I watched him at Ohio State. He was above average receiver. Wasn't a guy that I knew was going to blow the defenses away.
Yeah.
Watched him with the Giants in the NFL. I knew that he wasn't going to be a star in the NFL, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Coming here, I was excited. Bigger field. His route running, his explosiveness. I saw him as probably like a receiver 3-4 type of guy.
Yeah.
Was I thinking that I'm going to sit here and have a conversation about this guy being a top 5 receiver in the CFL 5 games into his career? Absolutely not. So to me, that's the biggest surprise, and I think it has to be the biggest surprise.
Yeah. For the sake of diversity in our answers, I'm going to go a different route, but I think that is kind of the unanimous answer. It has to be. But for me, it's a guy that joined the Als midway through last year and since then has not stopped making plays, and he's become one of my favorite players on defense. That's Mustafa Johnson. He comes in and he is leading the team in sacks, and he's just all over the place. He has a motor that does not stop, whether you're the first play of the game or in triple overtime. This guy has a motor that does not stop. And I really think he's slowly turning into one of the best interior defensive linemen in the CFL, and one that I'm very happy to have on our team. So for me, that's my biggest surprise this year. Obviously, Austin Mack, you have to give it to him because it's shocking more than anything.
I want to throw an honorable mention out to Ento because he stepped in at corner the last couple of weeks and he's been amazing. There was the one touchdown. I want to go back to the Toronto game.
Yeah,
the game-winning touchdown that everyone had his head for. But if you watch that play, and I think I told you that because you didn't even see it. If you watch that play right before the snap, Wesley Sutton is turned to Ento and he's talking to him. So Ento is not seeing the snap of the ball. He gets burned on that play, but he almost made it back.
Almost recovered.
After he was blown by like 10, 15 yards. He almost recovered and made that an incomplete pass. Yeah. So everyone had his head until I explained it to them, and they were like, oh. And then if you watch the replay, they saw it. They're like, okay, you're right. Like, yeah, it looked bad, but if you saw what happened pre-snap, you realize it was not his fault.
It's a miracle it wasn't worse. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I 100%. I think that's a really good honorable mention. And again, you can make an honorable mention for Kaon too. We said most improved, but this is honestly a biggest surprise for me too. And I will go on the record right now and say it. Montreal, when healthy, will have a top 2 receiving core in the CFL.
I think it's one.
It's hard to put them above Dalton Shayne, Kenny Lawler, Nick Dembski. It's hard. It's hard.
I think depth-wise, they're there. Top 3-wise, like the top 3 targets.
Yeah.
It's debatable. It's tough to put.
But I will put them in the top 2 100%. When coming into the season, people were saying Montreal might have the worst receiving core in the CFL. No.
2 guys inside the top 4 with 2 less games played. I'm taking it, man.
100%. Well, Shayne, that does it for this week's episode of the Bird Flock Pod. I'm fired up for Sunday.
Als by 50.
You want to give a quick little prediction here?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Als by 10. I was by 10.
Do we have a score? 24-14, 27-17.
I'm gonna go 31-21. Als.
All right. Well, I got
Siakam takes off his old team.
I got Alouettes 33, Toronto 24. Toronto, we're not playing Toronto. Calgary 24. And that does it, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, we'll be at the game. Section J1. Come say what's up to the boys. And go Als, go, baby. We're going 3-3 back to 500 this week.